have with me today Jeffrey Vallance, who is a COLA 2020 fellow, and we're going to be talking about the project that he's working on.
For my project, what I was going to do is learn and then paint plein air paintings, and that's a little strange because I mean it's something that people normally do, but I've never done that. And usually the kind of work I do is more conceptual. It's more like performance art. So this is a big change for me. My idea for the whole show was to not hang the paintings on the wall like they're art, as if they're like it's a finished piece and then this is what you're supposed to look at, because that wasn't what I was doing. It was about the experience. So my proposal for the installation was I wanted to get like a big square of like artificial turf and put that down in the gallery, and put the easel on it, you know, and have the whole setup, have the palette and the brushes and everything that you do to make a painting. Then I wanted these like little ropes around the edge, so so people weren't allowed to like step into the scene. You had to stand back like an art piece, like an installation.
Tell us about your general artistic practice.
And that's almost an unanswerable question because I do a little bit of everything. Everything's sort of mixed up. So it's kind of hard for people to tell exactly what I do. And also it's hard for me to explain that. In 1965, my grandfather, who was an artist, he was from Norway, and he came to the USA around the turn of the century. He taught me how to paint when I was about 10 years old. What he did was, one is that, taught me how to paint, and then two, taught me how to do folk art. And both of those things became very important in my practice. Recently, I found some old papers, and I found out who my grandfather's teacher was, and that was this Norwegian impressionist painter, Fritz Thallo, and he was the brother-in-law of Paul Gauguin. So there was sort of this lineage.
I had this weird note in my notebook that stems from the last studio visit I did with you. It said that you were haunted by Bob Ross.
Oh yeah.
And so can you explain how you're haunted by Bob Ross and what that means?
Yes. The first moment I did my first plein air painting, I have the easel up and the palette, and I get the brush, and I start making marks on the canvas, and it was really hard at first. I felt like every stroke that I made was haunted, because I thought of Bob Ross, gets a little sponge and makes the trees and has this, has a certain way of working. I thought of that. Oh no, it kind of looks like Bob Ross. I tried to fight it, but like I said, I looked at a lot of paintings and I realized, no, that's how they look. You have to do that, and the reasons that you do that is because it's a special way of painting.
I have a quick question, because I did reference your FBI files. And how did it feel to be an artist and to develop an FBI file that stems from your art?
I don't know. When I was maybe 20 years old, I sent this. It was a painting that I sent to Leonid Brezhnev in Russia, and what I wanted is him to autograph the painting and send it back. But so I made this painting and sent it, and then I never heard from him at all, and I kind of wondered about that. And I'd heard at the time that students, people in grade school, were doing a paper on Russia, and they would write Russia, and then these kids would end up with FBI files. So I started to think, well, maybe something happened here. So I wrote the FBI under the Freedom of Information Act to get the file, and then a couple months later, here it comes. This is 12-page file, and it was really kind of scary. It had this personal information and just really embarrassing things. A couple of years ago, I sent in for it again because I thought, well, maybe something changed, maybe they got something new. So I got the second FBI file, and this one was even weirder because they said they were worried that I was a secret agent for Russia.
Is your retreat to Plein Air maybe a antidote from being kind of garnering more FBI files? You know, I can't imagine them being interested in your Plein Air activities, but that would be interesting if they were.
I'm not trying to escape the FBI by doing plein air painting.
Perhaps if you started doing plein air of federal buildings, that might
yeah.
raise some red flags.
Well, I would like that. You know, yeah, I kind of see plein air painting as almost like performance art. Like it's not so much even about the painting. It's about being in the moment. It's kind of funny because that's the one thing that with the COVID-19 I can't do. I mean, I sort of, you know, you're not even supposed to go out. You know, you're not supposed to be near people. I could get another FBI file for plein air painting, you know, in the wrong places.